Hey guys, Tisha here, ready to recap the Housewives of Atlanta. Let me start off by saying that this episode reminded me of why I found myself not watching The Real Housewives for several years, because it's draining. The back and forth is really draining, and considering the age of these women, it just reminds me of why I had to stop watching them for a little bit. Anyways, we start the episode with Bravo showing flashbacks of Kandi and Marlo over the years. And I don't know what the sole purpose of this was for. I feel like it could go both ways. I feel like the flashbacks would give Marlo's people a reason to continue to support Marlo in the craziness that she does, as well as Kandi people to feel like Kandi has a reason to feel the way that she feels. But either way, we do see that there were points in time where both women appreciated each other and where it seemed as if they did have some form of friendship. So Kandi saying in one of the flashbacks that Marlo is such a good, kind-hearted person, that she's really sweet, that she's all these things. But we now know that's not what it is. We see Marlo and Kandi sitting down. They show the receipts, some of the receipts for what was sent as far as the text message between Kandi and Marlo, where Marlo is informing Kandi of the death of her nephew and where Kandi is responding. They then also show them sitting down, and remember that Marlo has said on several occasions that Kandi acted like she did not care when she found out that Marlo's nephew was killed. But in the flashback, we clearly seeing Kandi console Marlo. We see her hugging her. We see her empathizing with her. We see her even relating it to the fact that her brother, you know, was gone, and the different losses that she's had due to gun violence. So I don't understand why Marlo is acting like she did not care. She did care to a certain extent, but it's obvious, given what we're discussing now, that Marlo wanted more for her. We then go back to current time, where we see Marlo sitting with, I believe it's her managers, Ty and Justin, and they're filming a scene, basically. You can't tell me that they hadn't previously discussed some of this, as the ladies do, as evident by Kandi getting that text message, and then when on camera, she acted like it was her first time hearing it. So it's obvious that some of these scenes are filmed for TV. And I believe that this was clearly a moment where they were filming for TV. They're talking about, you know, what it would be like if Marlo starts dating, and Marlo brings up the fact that she wants to keep things, you know, good for her nephews because her nephews are so used to having her around, etc., etc. Marlo then brings up Courtney's upcoming event and how she doesn't know how it's going to be. She talks about Drew and tells her version of the story, which everybody's version is somewhat different from what the cameras have shown. And I believe that the edit as well, because from what the ladies are saying, there was far more to that conversation that we did not get to see. As they talk to Marlo, her friends are agreeing with her, and it just reminds me of how the people in Marlo's inner circle don't hold her accountable. I do not want friends that don't hold me accountable, that encourage my foolishness, because a lot of this with Marlo seems to be very foolish to me. Marlo lies and says that when Drew brought up the situation and didn't use the words that she would want her to use, that Kandi gave Drew a look when she brought it up. Kandi did not give Drew a look when she said that she wasn't bringing it up. Kandi looked and said, I'm not talking about it. And that is what it is. Marlo continues to say that Kandi picks and chooses what she wants to talk about, and all she does is promote her business, and she doesn't give us any of her personal life. She talked about her promoting her business like it was a bad thing. And to me, my question is, what is the purpose of being on the show, but not to also show the things that go on in your life as well as your business? This is a show that's watched by, I'm going to say, a million people, because the numbers are reflecting like the upwards of the 800,000s, and people stream and people watch on other things that don't even get recorded. So this has been seen by a lot of people. We're not going to sit here and act like it's not a good idea to promote your business. I feel like it's just Marlo reaching again, and that she talks more about Kandi than herself. Marlo, what do you have going on other than Kandi and your nephews? Because the only thing that you've shown us at this point is an empty lot that you were supposed to, I thought, be building a house on, your nephews, this rental fashions business. You told us you're a stylist. We've seen that you're Nene's friend. We've gotten all these aspects of you, but we still don't know you. So everything with you, in my opinion, is very surface level. Whereas Kandi has shown us the loss of her fiance, problems with her child's father, problems with her singing group, business failures, big business accomplishments, family problems, all of these things. But you still manage, Marlo, to say that Kandi isn't showing us anything. Come on. We then see Sonia and her family. She's excited because her products are going to be on a major website, but she's concerned because her family has quit on her. And all I have to say to that is hire some people. Her sister says that she's upset that Ross said the things that he said. And I think part of this is Sonia's problem, because Sonia should not have disclosed everything that her husband said. She should have just let them know that, you know, we're thinking about when you guys are going to be leaving, and they should have discussed the time frame before it was even presented to her sister. We see that Sonia says that she's going to talk to him, and that Sonia's sister is really not having it. She said that you can talk to him if you want to, but either way, we're leaving, and it's going to cause a gaping hole. It is clear that Ross does not realize just how much having her parents as well as her sister there helps her. She can up and go, and she talks about this, how when she needs to go out of town, she doesn't have to look for a sitter because her family is there. And these things are all things that you should consider. I know for me, I was trying to tell one of my cousins, like 2 years ago, when she was considering moving to the area that I live in, that childcare is something that she needs to consider, because all her life, even with her other children, that was not an issue because she was near family, and the family made sure that she was good in terms of that. So if you do move out here, although it may seem cheaper in some aspects, it's going to cost more for you in others, because you're not going to have the support that you had. So I completely can understand why Sonia would want them to stay there. But I feel like there's more to that. And I feel like her sister is very upset with her. And for some odd reason, if they have discussed it further, we have not seen it. We then see Kenya looking at a space for Kenya More Hair Care Spa. She, while looking at the space with her friend, who also happens to be a friend of Kandi, they're talking about the difficulties of dating, because the guy that Moneta introduced her to is out of town a lot. And Kenya brings up the fact that, you know, that makes things hard. She's done long distance before, and she doesn't necessarily want to do the out of town thing because you really have to make a lot of time for people, and they're both busy. Kenya then talks about the trip. She talks about how Marlo was out of hand and she attacked her child. Now, Kenya, we're not going to use this word so loosely. I don't agree with what Marlo did by any means. I don't agree with how any of the girls came banging on your door. I thought it was very confrontational. It wasn't coming from a place of jokes, in my opinion. She did not attack Brooklyn. She may have put her in a hostile environment. She may have scared her and woke her up out of her sleep. I'm not negating those things. But don't say that she attacked your child, because she did not. We're not going to push that narrative. Kenya then brings up some of the charges that Marlo's had. And I just feel like at this point, y'all figure out something else other than bring up the charges. She also says that Marlo attacks people, but then plays victim. And with that part of what Kenya said, I do agree with. We then see Sheree and her old face, because Sheree now has a new face, a new nose, a new look. She looks more like Drew online than she does like Sheree. And we see her waiting for her son and her granddaughter. They arrive. They do a little hand mold thing. It's cute. She talks about how her son is a good father, and she cries and she talks about it because she said that he didn't have that growing up. And I think that this is a beautiful moment. And I will say it was nice to see this side of Sheree, because that side of her was genuine. I didn't feel like she was putting on for TV. I felt like that was her. We flash to Drew. And we hear that her daughter is still recovering from the flu. We see her son outside playing basketball with a coach. As they're standing out there, they rehash the thing that happened with Marlo and Drew. And I'm trying to read my notes. Oh, she was saying how Marlo got upset with her because she did not use the word shooting. Ralph didn't hesitate to say shooting. Drew says we don't use that word in where she's from, a Chicago girl. Everybody uses that word, whether you're local, foreign, whatever. These are words that are used. If I was somebody that YouTube was really looking for, I wouldn't use that word, because that is a word that can cause them to put up a flag because it's inappropriate. So Drew, just say that you did not feel comfortable using that word. Drew also states that if she had such a problem with what happened, and if she was so triggered by things, she doesn't understand why Marlo went off on her rather than going off on Candy. And Ralph seems to be just as confused as we are about Marlo and her level of anger towards Candy, because it doesn't seem like it's warranted. Drew even goes as far as saying that no one in the cast knew about this, which makes me wonder who in the cast sent flowers, card, food, bunny, if she never shared it with the group. You are trying to act like this event was so traumatic for you, but some of the people that you work with did not even know about it. So it just further shows how she's reaching. Candy or Todd are talking about this movie again, which I'm overhearing about the movie, but I get why you're doing it. Plug your man, girl. And the beat bomb thing, which is Courtney's event. She said she didn't really want to go because she doesn't too much care for Courtney, but because Monetta is going, she's going to go. Girl, it's because of filming and you're required to be there, so you're going. We see Kenya tell Candy about the things that Marlo said in regards to Drew. Candy acknowledged that she did know about Marlo's nephew being killed, and she did know that at one point he did work for her, but that it had nothing to do with her business, that Marlo is lying, and that she's looking for a moment. Kenya says she feels like she's just trying to get people against Candy, but she'll have her back. We then see the group arrive at Courtney's event. Marlo enters. Drew and Courtney are there. She speaks and Drew doesn't say anything. And she speaks again and Drew does a nod. Others arrive. We see that Candy is the last to arrive, and it's a noticeable energy shift. So much so that Sanya, I always say her name wrong, asks if Candy is okay, and Candy says no. Thank you, Kandi, for not being fake in that moment and for letting it be known that, you know, you're not okay. Kandi immediately addresses Marlo and asks her, you know, what's going on? What's the situation? You got a lot to say. Marlo asks to speak to her to the side. Marlo then speaks as if she didn't say things the way that they were presented. And she said that she doesn't understand why when they talk about Marlo, things can be said directly, but it's not that way towards Kandi. She backpedaled a little bit because her delivery is different. And I will say this. To me, the bringing up Marlo's previous charges at this point is old. And I say it's old because Bravo doesn't really want to address it. Because if they did, they would have a breakdown of these things and it would be out there and they would show it in depth the same way that we've seen Kandi break some things down on her Speak On It episodes. Marlo is right in being tired of people bringing up stuff that happened 20 years ago, but Marlo also has to understand that she dug this hole for herself because there's a lot of things that they don't know about Marlo, so they use what they can. Marlo, you're the same person who called Kandi a hoe and says she whores around and all these other things based on what you heard about her past. So you can't get mad when she does things and brings up things from your past. The way that you were talking to Kandi about what was going on is not the same energy or wording that you had in your confessionals. Remember, previously it was Kandi's fault that violence was surrounding her establishments and they needed to figure out what was going on. When we now know that the gentleman that got rid of your nephew didn't even work at either one of Kandi's businesses, but at first you said that he was somebody he met from there, worked there, whatever. You said so many different stories that things are starting to run into each other at this point. And I wish when Bravo was doing all the flashbacks, they flashed back to all the different things that she said about Kandi in regards to the part that Kandi played in it. They get loud. Moneta tries to de-escalate the situation. Kandi is mad. Marlo acts like when Kandi came over there to comfort her when she was telling her the story that none of that stuff happened. Drew is yelling that Marlo is being aggressive, and I'm sorry, Drew, they were both being aggressive. Kandi told that lady that she wanted to choke her. That's aggressive. Kandi said something along the lines of, what did she say? If she pops off, don't try to hold me back. Basically, like, if she does something to me, don't try to hold me back because I want to make sure I can fight her. So there were things that Kandi said that was aggressive as well. I like Kandi, but we're not going to sit here and act like she didn't play a part in this confrontation that we just saw. Sonia says that she doesn't like Drew using the words aggressive because they keep acting like Marlo is the only aggressor. And here's the thing. Sonia, I agree. Marlo is not the only aggressor in this moment. We're not going to sit here and act like she wasn't being aggressive, though. Marlo says that no one could confront Kandi. She mocks her crying. They separate them. Marlo keeps talking about what Kandi did not do. Kandi brings up her past again. They show clips of Kandi at that moment after she brings up her past saying that Marlo is nice. Why you didn't bring up the clips of the things that Marlo said, not the whole clips, but the other stuff that she said regarding this incident. Kandi says, why does she need to do more than she did? And I agree with Kandi. If you wanted that lady to do more the same way that you went and asked her to do cameo following that, you could have asked her to do more. You could have said, hey, I think it would be nice if you know, send some chicken or whatever to my family, or you send them a card and some flowers. I think they will. Tell people what you want. People don't know. Drew's trying to explain what happened to Sonya, and Sonya says that she's like a lapdog, and so are you, Sonya, because you go back and forth too. I already talked about that part about Kandi saying if Marlo tries to hit her, don't grab her. I felt all of that. That's what I wrote in this section of my notes. I felt all of that. Poke the bear and you will be demolished. I don't agree with, let me put this out. I don't agree with being physical. I've had my share of physical altercations, and what I will say is this: when you are the person who tries to avoid those things because you know what you're capable of, and you have someone who continues to, there's a few things that you can do. You can walk away, you can be the bigger person, or you can give them what it is that they want. And I think that because of everything that has gone on, and you do have to remember, like, we're not gonna sit here and act like Kandi's cousin did not get shot. They are dealing with it in current time, unlike something that happened to Marlo a few years ago that she now wants to bring up as a storyline. You can't think that this girl is going to continue to let you ride on top of her and she's not going to have something to say. I just wish Kandi didn't give her the moment that she wanted. I wish Kandi would have said, like, look, if you going to tell the narrative, you need to tell the whole thing. Kandi loves receipts. Print out the thing and hand it to all of them, showing what the text is. Let them know, look, she came over my house. We discussed it. I hugged her. I'm all that. Maybe Bravo will show you. Maybe you won't. But you're not going to sit here and act like this is something that it's not and leave it at that. There was no more that needed to be said. And I wish that she wouldn't have done it. This is why I don't argue. Because I don't think I would have been composed. Now, Kandi, you have a livelihood and you have a reputation. You're Tony nominated. I don't know if you won because I didn't check to see, but I think I would have saw it on Twitter if you did. However, the way that I just wish you didn't give Marlo this platform, because you're just giving her more stuff to say. We see the groups separate, and there's a clear divide with the groups. Sheree says Kenya and them are up Kandi's butt. I think that that's kind of funny because Sheree, you're up Marlo's butt. There's things that Marlo who's said and done that you agree with that is foolish to me. But then again, Sheree wants Kim to come back. So given all the things that Kim said and the fact that you want her to come back makes me feel like you want Marlo there because you want to make sure that you can film scenes. They then talk about the stereotypes amongst our people, and I will say that to me, it's an interesting conversation because Kenya did tell Drew, like, if that was me, you should have, like, got her in the throat and all of these things, and we know that all these things perpetuate violence. My problem is, if you want to talk about the stereotypes, you also need to talk about the things that are done that create these narratives, because Kandi has a legitimate reason to be upset. You're talking about her livelihood on a national stage. Marlo is looking for a moment, and Marlo is aggressive as well. Marlo is tall. Marlo towers over people. So, and Marlo does have a past. And even though I say that I'm tired of them bringing it up, it is something that is to be concerned about, because we've seen how she acts with the cameras there. How would she act if they weren't? The same way with Kandi. I think that if the cameras weren't there and if people didn't stop Kandi, Kandi might have done something. Everybody is nice unto a point. And the point where people aren't nice and you get the other side of them, you just don't know what you're going to get, which is why you have to be careful of the things that you say and do. It's just like now, and I know this may seem like I'm reaching, when you're driving in the street and somebody does something crazy, sometimes you don't even want to tap your horn because of road rage and because of things that have happened with shootings and all of these things, just because you tapped your horn. So we're not going to sit here and act like people don't have a point where they could snap. And I think that's what we saw with Kandi. Kandi snapped. I'm glad Kandi walked out. I feel like she should have done it sooner. I feel like Kandi, you really don't even need to film with Marlo, because I don't think that there's any coming back from this, even though Kandi tends to forgive. I don't know. Marlo's at the table crying, saying that she wants people to leave her past alone. And I agree with that point about leaving her past alone. Overall, I think that this was a decent episode of Housewives. I want the producers to not seem to be so biased sometimes with their editing. And I don't know if that's because they're trying to make one person look better than the other. I feel like they did show some of the negative things that Marlo said, but I feel like when it came to this story with her nephew, that they left some key components out, which Kandi explains on her Speak On It. Go watch Kandi Speak On It if you haven't, because they do a really good job of showing some of the things that the editors don't see, and giving a little bit that the editors cut out, and giving a little bit of information that we may not know. Overall, like I said, this episode was draining to me. I really want to see something other than Kandi drama and Marlo trying to convince us that she's getting help through her life coach. And I want to see something else from Marlo. But I guess we're going to see her, you know, date and stuff. I'm over this whole situation, and I feel like it's been drawn out long enough. I don't want this to be another season of we gonna drag this. Like, these ladies don't have all these other things going on, because they really do. Until next time. Oh, like this video. If you don't like it, thumbs it down. It's supposed to help. At least that's what people say. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that Marlo's right? Do you think she's wrong? I had some people respond to me on Twitter. It'd be nice if you respond to me down in that comment section too. Until next time.